On Sunday, Rangers lost the League Cup final to Celtic. The Jazz got it all wrong on the day, and in turn the Light Blues were handed their first defeat of the Michael Beale era. Whilst the loss is still raw amongst fans, time does move on, and Rangers must now look towards their next game, that being Kilmarnock in the Scottish Premiership. In today's video we do have some positive news, as we do provide you an update with regards to Ryan Kent, whilst also going over the latest Rangers news from the last 24 hours. There is so much to cover in today's video. And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel guys. Before we get into today's video, as always, please do smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for daily Rangers content. Kenny Miller has knocked back suggestions that Rangers need a complete squad overhaul in the summer transfer window. As we mentioned in the intro, Rangers lost to Celtic in the League Cup final. However, the Jazz are already 9 points behind in the Scottish Premiership title race. Miller has conceded that the league is already over, and he has now piled Ibrox's importance on the Scottish Cup. It remains to be seen if Rangers can land silverware this season, but Kenny Miller insists the squad is in a better place than some would suggest. Speaking to Sky Sports, he said, "I think rebuild is way too strong. Rangers have a good squad, they have a lot of strength and depth. You look at their bench yesterday, Kemar Roofe was sitting in the stand. There is good strength and depth there. Michael Beale has a good squad at his disposal. He will also look to put his own stamp on it. He has already started that with the 2 additions in January. He'll definitely do that again. I would imagine at least another 2 or 3 will come in the summer that are Michael's players. People will move out as well. He has already talked about there being too many players in the squad. On a day-to-day basis, that maybe becomes unmanageable in training. He will definitely have not a rebuild, but a refresh in the squad in the summer." Just a quick one before we get back into the video guys, we've released our brand new merchandise. We've got our Graham Souness Tim Scalping t-shirts, along with our Michael Beale Stan Smith tees. Do shop the collection by going to rfcclothing.com or going down into the link in the description. Let's get back into today's video. Simon Jordan reckons Celtic won't be beaten by Rangers anytime soon, as he branded the feud between Michael Beale and Chris Sutton as ridiculous. The pundit slammed Beale over his war of words with former Celtic player Chris Sutton, as he bluntly stated Rangers aren't good enough to compete with Ange Postecoglou. On the clash with Sutton in the build-up to the League Cup final, Jordan commented, "Michael Beale is a mixed bag. He's got this running feud with Chris Sutton, which is ridiculous. Both of them should keep their heads, although Sutton is doing what he's paid to do now." Jordan hailed Postecoglou as the finished article and offered a damning verdict on the future, as he predicted Celtic would win or at least avoid defeat in any upcoming fixtures between the rival clubs. He said, "Rangers aren't good enough to compete with Ange Postecoglou. Postecoglou is the finished article. We're comparing Rangers and Celtic. We're talking about now and Ange Postecoglou and what is a manager. They're 9 points clear in the SPFL, and they've beaten them in the Cup. They'll beat them every time they play. They won't get beat by Rangers anytime soon. Michael Beale needs to get better in everything he does. Against everyone else, they're good enough, but that's not the standards Rangers and Celtic judge themselves on. If he judges himself based on playing Hibernian or whoever else that are beneath them, that's fine, but unfortunately for him, he's taken a job in Scotland, where the only game that matters is Celtic, and they're not good enough to beat Celtic, and I don't see that changing anytime soon." Rangers are increasingly hopeful of agreeing a new contract with Ryan Kent, according to reports today. The winger could be a free agent in the summer if he doesn't sign a new deal with Rangers. We broke the news earlier this month that Championship League leaders Burnley have showed strongest interest in Ryan Kent, as they eye up a deal ahead of their likely Premier League return. However, the contract offer from Rangers is currently the best on the table for Ryan Kent, and that has given his employers growing hope of keeping him. At various times, as it appeared more likely than not that Kent would end his 5-year stay with Rangers this summer, renewal talks between Rangers and Kent have been slow and have threatened to ground to a halt at various stages. The player has been keen to test the water from down south in particular, with a move to the Premier League one he has been considering, with his contract expiring as we said in the summer. Vincent Kompany's Burnley have been in a touch of about a potential deal, as they plan ahead for what appears a certain return to the top flight next term. But it is believed that positively around a new deal at Ibrox is growing after the latest round of contract talks between Kent and the club. There is a feeling growing that Kent will stay in Glasgow, although it is understood that reports of a £50,000 week wage demands are wide off the mark and are far too high. Kent shares a strong relationship with current Rangers manager Michael Beale after previously thriving under him during his spell as assistant manager at Ibrox. Kent is regarded as one of Rangers' prized assets after he signed for £7 million back in 2019, and so far this season has scored 3 goals, supplied 8 assists in 36 matches in all competitions this season. Andy Halliday has given his assessment on Fashion Sakala's comments ahead of Rangers' League Cup final with Celtic. During the build-up to the match, the Zambian claimed Rangers were the better side and even referred to Celtic as the other mob. Sakala's miss, coupled with his pre-match comments, and Andy Halliday's pick for Howler of the Week on Clyde One's Super Scoreboard. The Hearts midfielder explained, "I have got to give the nod to Fashion Sakala, especially after his comments in the media. I've never been a fan of comments like that because it always leads to biting you in the backside. At the time I thought it was a tight angle and perhaps took a bobble off the pitch, but watching it back, there's no way he should have not scored that goal." Reflecting further on the game, Halliday admitted his surprise at Malik Tillman starting the game after significant injury worries. He added, "The big shock for me was when the team lineup came out and there was a lot of doubt whether Malik Tillman was fit, and I thought that one was a bonus. But to see no Raskin was a real shock for me. I get it, he hasn't played a lot of football for a number of months, but in the 2 games he has played he's looked very good. He has got a man of the match in both. If we are talking about players who aren't really fit, handing it into a game, Malik Tillman hadn't trained in 2 weeks, and John Lundstrom hadn't for a month, and they still got the nod, so I think the omission of Raskin was a real shock for me. But then to not bring him on at half-time was an even bigger surprise. I thought that change would have been made. Alfredo Morelos coming off the pitch was a real surprise. I would have kept him in the way it was at that time in the game. Rangers had come onto it and I don't think he had set the world alight with his performances, but he fed off scraps. What he had to do, he did okay, and he was just off the back of a goal and Rangers are gathering momentum. Morelos would have stayed on the pitch for me. Rangers fans, what do you make of the defeat to Celtic, and do you think Ryan Kent will be here post the summer? Let me know your thoughts down there in the comment section below. That brings us to the end of today's video. Please do smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for daily Rangers content. Remember, we have also released our brand new collection. We have our Graham Souness Tim Scalping t-shirts and our Michael Beale Stan Smith tees. They are all now available on our website. Just go down to rfcclothing.com or go down into the link in the description and browse the collection. Thank you, and I'll see you all next time. Take care. Peace.